What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Hana Yori Dango, and we're returning to the first season soundtrack. We're going to listen to another tune by series composer Yamashita Kosuke, and that is Bonds, which is a tune you often hear in relation to Makino and her feelings, and in some different contexts, I would say, and in the moment, I can't necessarily think of every tune, or every scene, rather, where this tune is used. But as I said, it's typically in relation to Makino and when she's thinking over what's happened in, recent days at the high school, or perhaps when she's been at her shop working with Yuki. Hello. Okay, apparently we're being interrupted by Luca, who would like to move to my lap. But that does allow for a better display of the first season DVD as well as the first season soundtrack. And I wanted to mention, there's actually a tune on this first season soundtrack that's never used in the live action show, but it's only part of the anime, whereas most of the soundtrack is used in both the anime and the live action show, which, it's a bit unfortunate because the one track that's anime exclusive in this soundtrack is excellent and very atmospheric and emotional, and it feels like it would have gone quite well with the live action show. But the flip side of that is there's this awesome and melancholic piano theme which is used in several prominent scenes. Like, anyone who's seen the live action show will instantly recognize it the moment it starts, but it's not on the soundtrack. So I feel like maybe for the live action soundtrack they could have released a different version of the CD which swapped out the tune which we never hear and is only in the anime for this great piano track which we hear multiple times. So it's a bit of a weird thing. Nevertheless, we'll listen to this track, which is Bonds, as I said, and which features, I think, not only strings very prominently, but woodwinds, and it has like a chamber music type of composition. And while I wouldn't say it's melancholic or overly happy, it's somewhere in between, which, again, I think fits the emotional roller coaster of the show quite well. But I do think it has a tenderness to it, whatever, emotional positivity or complexity you might assign to it. I think it is a very tender tune, which perhaps, again, runs a spectrum of emotional feelings. So let's hear it. This is from the original season of Hana Yori Dango. The track is Bonds, and it's composed by series composer Yamashita Kosuke. Beautiful, right? Tender, soft. I suppose it sounds a bit more warm and positive than it does melancholy, but I do think there's a sense of maybe uncertainty or emotional confusion a little bit, or at least caution. So it feels like Makino's thoughts and understanding of what's happening in her life is perhaps a bit cloudy at points. And yes, I do think it is almost exclusively used in relation to her, although perhaps there's some scenes where it's used maybe in relation to Yuki or, Domyoji. But yes, when I hear that tune, I think of Makino and, her at home, like sitting in a bath thinking about, what's happened at the Etoku High School, or perhaps at her confection shop where she works with Yuki and Okami-san, and thinking about what Hanazawa Rui has said to her, exactly what her feelings are. So yeah, I think it's a really sweet tune. I'm probably going to react to one more in this batch. Eventually I will react to that track that's only in the anime, even though I've never seen the anime. And I was actually poking around online, and I saw a YouTube video of someone playing the missing piano track that is in the live action show but is not on the soundtrack. And someone had commented to her like, oh, have you ever seen the Korean version? And I've actually seen, just like this person responded, a few minutes of the Korean version, which seemed like it would be very funny, but it seemed a bit more zany and like way farther down the silly end of the comedic spectrum. And I was sort of like, I don't know, like I think I just want to know and love the Japanese version of the show, because that was the original and that's the one that I'm familiar with. And she responded like, oh, I'm sort of monogamous, like I only really watched the Japanese one. I saw a snippet of the Korean one and I felt like maybe it wasn't for me. But yes, ultimately, if I can't find any audio version of that piano tune, I may do a video reaction eventually, just so I can talk about that piano theme, which again, it's crazy to me. It features so prominently in the show, you'd think it would be in the soundtrack, but instead there's an anime-only track, which it seems weird. But I guess, given that all the other tracks are used in both, they just figured let's release one soundtrack that you can see as being the soundtrack to the anime and the live-action show. In any case, the point is that's not the track I'm going to react to for the second one in this same batch. So if you're curious about what that is, check out the next video, and Luca and I will see you next time. She was about to get up. Will she stay in the chair? She will. You're full of surprises, Luca. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Peace.